Hello and welcome to this episode of the Ranting Atheist podcast. Today we'll be listening to a clubhouse room we had a while ago. This is one of the after Bible study rooms where we just start talking random shit. And somehow we were entered where parallels were drawn between religion and science. Like, okay, let's just listen and find out. If you haven't subscribed up, please consider subscribing on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and other places podcasts are available. Then check out the show notes for links you may find useful, including our Discord server. We'd love to have you there. So now let's go and listen to the short recording of this clubhouse room we had.
But you know, all that dynamic put together just tells you it's just pure man-made and authoritarian in nature. But science has like systemics, like there are steps to follow. And you can and if you have issues or you have questions, you can always go back to those steps, even and see how we came about what we came about, right? And why this is A, why A is A and why B is B. And we can also look through those steps and see, how can we improve C? There's C, somewhere C is this. How do we make C better? C could be used for this instead. I mean, we talk about nuclear being used for destruction and bombs, but then nuclear was also used to generate electricity, right? In many cases, although we're slowly phasing that out since the world is becoming more green and all of that stuff. So you have to think of it this way. There's a systemic research and then there's dogma. So they're not exactly on the same scale, honestly speaking.
No, I never asserted that they were on the same scale, but I did say that religion is still a part of the development of human knowledge. There is a tendency, because we look so close to our current histories and our experiences, so we feel it's easy to lose sight of the grander picture, which is what I was just trying to emphasize. You can make your critique on Christianity, and usually I have my apologetics defenses for that, which of course you know, but that idea that having religious belief is this I don't know, there's just this, I think it's an oversimplification of what religion is, and I usually have to tackle that because it's good that we don't misunderstand what religion is.
So with this whole religion as the first form of science, the reason why I don't know how to put that sentence properly, but the reason why I would disagree is because how do I explain it? I think religion was born out of the conditions of the human experience and not necessarily something like human beings were how do I put it, consciously created, like the way we did with science. And what I mean by that is okay, we see the sun set, so therefore the earth must be flat. Those kind of, I'm using this as an example by the way, but those kind of, shall I say, simplistic thinking, I can understand that being born out of the times they came in, because they didn't have the tools or the ingenuity to say what if the earth is not really flat and stuff like that. And that's what I'm saying, I think it was born out of the conditions of the human experience and not necessarily something that human beings created and were let's use this as a tool to better understand the world.
But that's the same way science was born.
How was science born? I don't exactly.
No. I'm pressing the brake on that, Lumi. Now. Okay, land the plane.
Science did not just emerge like some people sat there and said, what's the name? Human beings just developed this boom, enlightenment. Let's make science. Science is the result of collective human knowledge. It's just the process. As our eyes continue to open wider and wider, so do our tools become more precise. That's just the process. It's not like science was pulled out of somewhere. Science is the fruit of generations of human knowledge accumulating. That is one thing people don't understand. All human knowledge is evolutionary. That's
I agree.
What I'm saying. All human
What I'm saying is,
evolutionary. Even religion.
You don't get what I'm.
You're saying religion was just merely the result of like environmental factors, right?
Yeah. I'm not just saying environmental. I feel like, how do I explain this now? So I'm not denying that science wasn't born out of like evolutionary knowledge. What I'm saying is like, if we could go back to like the first human beings, yeah, I don't think they'll like at that moment. I don't think they were like, you know what, let's just choose this as a tool. I feel like they were just reasoning things along the way.
Exactly.
I don't know how else to explain that.
I get what you're saying.
That's exactly.
That's okay.
No, it's not. It's kind of different.
That's not what you were saying. Honestly, that's
Wait,
not
let
what
me
you
tell
were
you
saying.
why. Let me tell you why it's the same thing. The reason why is that early man now, Abi, he's in an environment.
Yes.
He wants to crack a nut. Through experimentation, somehow maybe kick one stone. He saw that when the stone falls from a tree, it hits a nut and the nut cracks. And he just somehow realizes, if I can tie this grass with this stone, I can use it to make a tool to be cracking these nuts open. Right? Like that. Our experimentation, our activities in relation to the environment are the things that are generating these things. It's the same thing that led to the formation of science. But because it's accumulated over a longer period, it's not as simplistic as somebody carrying a hammer to crack a nut because he's hungry in the bush. But it's still a quest for survival. That's what science is. Why are we trying to understand the world, if not to increase our odds of survival? That is the only.
I'm glad you hit the point I'm trying to get at. So would you say religion originated as a means of survival?
It is. It is an evolutionary mechanism.
Wait, okay. Let me put it this way.
Or it's a part of the evolutionary process, rather.
Okay.
It is.
Okay, so.
And there's lots of science to back this up. So that's why I speak so
you
confidently
should have
about
just stopped. You should have just stopped there. Oh fuck! Like you should have just stopped there. Like honestly.
My bad.
I agree that. Yeah. But now you're trying to go into a different dynamics that I definitely do not agree with. But let's just end it there. That is so not true.
You said what? You
Anyway,
agree with us?
Yes,
God, please.
he said there is a lot of science to back
this is
it
about
up. Like
scholarly work, my dear.
Yeah. I know. I'm like, that's why you should have just ended it there. Let's not go there. Now, I don't want us because I like to go back to Fruity. It's the reason why we got here in the first place. Like I've had him in mind, kind of. So that's why I don't like the reason why we got here.
So Fruity, you believe
say it.
No, because the reason why I'm asking if he thinks religion is a survival mechanism is I'm wondering now what rites and rituals have to do with survival. Because you did mention something like that earlier on.
Yeah, they.
Because if you sacrifice maybe the first virgin of the chief of your tribe so that rain will fall, and it doesn't rain, I'm trying to see the science behind that.
The communities collapse when that happens.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. So
the reason for those rites and rituals, which is, I will add that social scientists and psychologists are working on even today. And they are trying to include more rites and rituals into the modern life because they have found in neuroscientific research that when people participate together in rituals, there are effects on cohesion in those communities because of how intense those rituals tend to be. Human beings clocked that when human beings go through or simulate experiences that are intense, it generates feelings of cohesion in the community. Two, there is a thing that happens in the brain during that process of where people's neurological processes are in sync. Like they've measured this in labs to see how rituals make people's brain move together in sync, and it pushes the communities together. That's the reason.
So bad for the
Again,
people they
there's
kill.
another reason too. The other reason is that it creates what's the name? What do you call it? It's like a sense of seriousness to the event. So it's very effective in making people behave a certain way too. So like those are the reasons. They are not just symbols. Like they are not just random. Some look random.
No, I'm not saying they are random. I'm just saying that if we've reached a point where we can look back and we can see, like, as in we can debate or ask questions like, was this really necessary for their survival? Then I will ask, like, okay, is it really a survival mechanism? I don't know if you get my point.
Social cohesion increases the odds of survival.
I'm not disagreeing with that. What I'm saying is, because some of the rituals we're talking of were not pleasant, for lack of a better word. So is it that they could not have had some of these experiences or created these experiences without necessarily like creating some form of harm?
Yeah, I mean, there's something.
And usually the answer is yes.
There's something they call the scapegoat mechanism, right? Which is when someone does something bad in the community. Say, like, you have to behead somebody or something happens, they have to sacrifice some animal or some human being. Scientists say that is because it's a very powerful deterrent in some instances too. Than just saying, oh, stop that, don't do it again. Other people will just go and do it again. So, like, that's one way of seeing it.
Again, I get that. But my point is, could they have done that without beheading someone?
Perhaps, but
The answer is yes, not perhaps. Yes.
No, that's the point I'm trying to bring out.
The circumstance is nothing like what we live in today. So
I agree.
It's nowhere comparable. So like trying to say the ethics with which we live in, which emerged because we live in this time, it's not because like those ethics have been essentially good. It's just because we live in this time and with the knowledge we have today. That's why we can do what we are doing.
I also agree. But like I said, I don't totally agree because I get the point. Like, okay, for example, if it's a militaristic society here, I can understand them beheading someone or having certain practices that I'll be like, okay, you know what? Given the time these people lived in, I can see why they'll take, should I say, more drastic measures to encourage certain behaviors. But in societies where that kind of thing is not even necessarily needed and is still present there, then I have to ask, like, okay, why is this there?
Well, like, the question I would ask you is, what kind of society do you assert that this wasn't needed then, relative to the times that
I don't think,
are occurring?
even in this society, I think we can still agree that we can bring those things back. Because if they are such a good deterrent for certain behaviors, why don't we still have them now? Or why can't we still implement them now?
Of course, but
it's because we've gotten to the point where we're like, you know what, this isn't necessary. And it's not like you said earlier, knowledge is evolutionary. We can look back and be like, these actions we took were not necessary. But with these societies, well, I don't know.
Or that they worked for a certain time, right? You know, you could be beheading people for the first 2 generations and it's working. And at some point it stops working in another generation. They may invent a new ritual or find that some other ritual works, like bringing masquerades to terrify people and tell them it's the gods. You know, make sell foods, and like somebody will go and carry it and they say, the food disappeared. So people are afraid that some entity that can make things appear and disappear at will is coming. It's how those rituals and activities emerge for the need of the day. I would say I'm not an anthropologist, but I read a lot about these things. So I may not be able to give you all the details, but
No, it's cool.
that's the logic behind it.
Another thing I'm noticing with this discussion is that religion is not also as democratic as science, in the sense that I think the further you go back in history, how do I mean, depending on, I think it's even present in a lot of societies, but usually the most religious people tend to be like they're not the majority compared to like what we have now. So think of which kind of example? Think of your priests and I don't mean priest like in the Abrahamic sense, but priest because I think in some cultures, priest may not even be a good word to use, but just think of a priest or a babalawo
Like shaman,
in certain cultures. Thank you, shaman. Yeah. That was not knowledge that was generally accessible.
Yeah, it's low, but I can hear him because
sorry. It's my
yes. Eat your mic. Eat your mic.
I hate it, God.
Well, I was trying to say that the earliest form of religions were not something that, should I say, is accessible to like the general populace. For example, the shaman would usually maybe take his own child and train in the same way, or take an apprentice or something, compared to what we have now, where it's
you are already seeing the process. You're seeing it, but you don't even realize it. Like originally, the traditional religions are kept in the hands of the leaders of the community. That's just the process, because it fosters societal cohesion. They are the only ones that are aware of what's really going on. In some instances, they themselves they're only aware on a superficial level of what they are doing and the role they are playing inside. But like for outside researchers, they can see it, that whether the evolutionary process is compelling them to do those things or they are consciously doing it to achieve those ends, whichever way you see it. And as time moved on, as our evolutionary processes continue to change in a way, we gain more advantage over time. And as such, it becomes harder and harder for one person to just hold all the knowledge. And that's just what's happening.
Okay,
like,
so
as our knowledge expands, like, it's democratizing.
Okay, so I want to ask a question now. Are we
Even
saying
in
that
Christianity, if you look at it too, I mean, the texts were not available to everybody to read today now.
Yeah, I know Martin Luther and Co.
Mm-hmm.
But what was the question I was going to ask now? Shit. So the earliest forms of religion, for example, right? Okay. How do I put this now? I can see the sense in saying that they were our earliest means of survival, or our earliest tools of survival, the way science kind of is. Now, I think the thought process that's going on in my head is I'm seeing it more as a tool for controlling people.
It can be that if you want it to be.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So,
like from the social cohesion aspect, Abby?
Yeah, because if you say, okay, it's for survival purposes, that's fine. But this discussion started with, is the earliest form of science? Or like, I don't know how to input the question now again.
Precursor to...
Okay.
And it's not even the only thing. There are other processes that happen. Like I think I remember one archaeologist saying something about burials were the first types of ritual.
Rituals, yeah, I've heard of that. So
Exactly. So like that's the first thing we did. Even though like that offered no like anything, but it was just like a sign of human consciousness, kind of, as it's opening up more and more. Before you know it, you start doing more complex rituals that serve more complex purposes. So even
yeah, but what I'm saying,
religion, as it is moving from simple to complex.
yeah, but what I'm saying is, I'm struggling to see that precursor to science, in the sense of, like, how do I put it? Like, I can agree that it was a survival mechanism. For me personally, yeah,
And this is the part where I had the problem at
But
first.
it's also a way for explaining the nature of the world. That's what it also serves
yeah, but the reason why they did that again was for this social cohesion
Hold
thing.
on. What they thought was the nature of the world. Okay, like with science, we can tell for sure this is that, and
you
it can be
sure?
trusted. But these guys just made
you sure?
what they thought. Yes, Mimi.
With more
But you had
accurate
No, let's.
future, we could throw away everything we believe to be the truth today.
That's fine. Me, I don't. But what I'm saying is, like, the reason why they would do this is not necessarily like I said earlier on. The shamans are the only ones who usually have this knowledge. So I'm seeing it as, oh, they were using this knowledge more for social cohesion than as a means to, like, actually try and figure out what the hell is going on.
But that is, I mean, even if you go to ordinary Christianity, you see that, or Judaism, the Genesis story is a way of trying to explain the origins of creation, of the things around us. And you see it in many religions. So
Here's my question. Is it trying to explain the origin of things, or is that a story provided to control the social cohesion?
no, it doesn't. What control is that offering? Like it offers no.
Wait, hang on. If let's say I don't have access to this knowledge, and someone tells me, yo, this God you're disobeying, this is what he did. There's a certain way you'll feel about that information. You'll feel awe and fear, like this thing is beyond you.
I mean,
That's my question. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like,
that's what I'm saying. That you don't. You already have the tendency to look at it in that light. Well, I'll have you know that there are religions that speak of a powerful God that created everything and left and offered no instructions.
Can you give example of such religions, please?
I know,
But like this is not like a counter or anything. I just want to know because I'm a learning type. So yeah.
I'll have to. I don't have it at the tip of my tongue, but I know I've read of things like that. Of course, you've even heard of the absentee God when people use it in theistic conversations. The God who made and left.
Lumi, if we were to check, are those gods? I'm hearing you. No, I'm saying this. If we were to check, are those gods under 1,000 years old?
Under 1,000 years, but they are probably much.
Like, are they very recent?
They'll probably be much older. I don't think they'll be recent. At least as I remember it.
Like, no, what I mean, I'm not talking of, what I mean is, those creation stories, would you say, like, in the last 1,000 years or in the last 2,000 years, that's when they came about?
No, now, certainly not. Some are much older than that. Look at the Egyptian creation stories now. I think they should be.
Yeah, but those ones. Yeah, they're much older. But those ones did have a prescriptive mechanism to their own religion too.
Okay.
I'm talking of these religions that don't have the prescriptive mechanism. I'm saying that.
Like the primordial religions.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if you say that the earliest forms of religion were.
Sorry, I'm missing it.
Okay, but what I was asking is like, so let me put it this way: the religions where there's no where they just tell the creation story and that is it. Like there's no, they're not prescribing.
I mean, there may be some
should I say prescribing
prescriptions.
behavior?
It's not like they may not prescribe behavior. They may be like, oh, harvest. We give something, throw it inside the water. All those kinds of stuff.
Yeah, okay, they're not dogmatic. I think maybe
They're
that's
not,
what I should
like,
use.
exactly, that's the word. So that's why when you give the argument of dogma, like not every religion follows that route.
Okay.
That's why like this whole idea of religion must be looked at holistically. Like there's a whole set of things. But critique on Abrahamic religions, that's a different story entirely.
No, I mean, I'm not even thinking of it. I'm trying to think of like other religions outside of the Abrahamic ones in this discussion, to be honest.
I notice in many rooms,
I think
it tends to always center around that.
Around Abrahamic. I think that's because that's the religion most of us.
It's one that affects us the most.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
I think if there's one thing that I'll leave this conversation with is, so me, I've always believed that religion or the other forms of religion were survival mechanisms. That's quite right. But being the precursors to science is what we are going to start thinking about now. Like
as a tool for making sense of the world.
Okay, Lumi, if it's about making sense of it, I think we already cleared that up, but saying it was a form of science or a precursor to science is the issue. And then still, before I hand back to Israel, if you don't mind sharing some of the stuff you like, some of your sources for all of these. I mean, for the science being the precursor to religion parts. If you don't mind sharing some sources on the chat, so I can read them up later. But every other thing, I mostly agree with you, but it's just this part that it's just not clicking. But you can share something. I guess I can.
Okay, I'll do that. Even though, I'm not one to keep my resources in a repository. I just read and go, but I can look them up and share.
Okay.
Yeah, please, if you don't even mean to, I'd like to say them, because you mentioned some things I've heard before.
Yeah, so
same here. That's why I kept quiet at one point. You see why I said you have sense.
Thank you.
Anyway,
I accept that begrudgingly.
No, I don't mean it badly. Like even the last time I said it, you're like your reply was you did mad. Right? I meant it. I meant it for real.
Yeah.
I mean, because we don't agree on the same things or we don't see the world the same way, doesn't necessarily mean you're daft. You get
And you were battling
because when you said,
because his ideas were very chilled.
No, but when you said there has been the other form of rituals, that was something that
that was the problem.
What did you say the ritual was? I didn't hear what you asked.
No, I said earlier on when you were speaking, when you said burials are a form of rituals, that's something I've heard before, and it's not something a lot of people know.
Yeah, that's something
so
actually.
That's why I'm like, you have a lot to say actually.
Yeah, he does.
Very few animals. I don't even know of any animal that does that. I think we're the only ones. Or maybe elephants. So elephants do it too. Yeah. Elephants bury their dead too. So people speculate.
Elephants mourn. I don't know if they bury.
They mourn. I think they mourn.
I know they
mourn as well too.
Well, if it's about mourning, I know mourning exists in the animal kingdom, but I'm not too sure about burial. But I know mourning does exist.
Too. I think I'm mixing it up. But yeah. So it has been very interesting.
Okay, so let's take it back to then because I'll soon. I literally have the whole weekend. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then.
Oh yeah, today is public holiday.
Don't go. It's not public. It's not public holiday where I am, but like.
Oh, sorry. Oh yeah.
No, but I'm taking the day. I'm taking the day, and I'm taking Monday. Why not?
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Were you formerly? Oh no, you can't be. Your name is David. You are just taking it for your own sake. Okay.
Yes,
fine.
exactly. Like,
Right.
yeah, I'm adding it to my day. I think that is
Okay.
one thing we should thank governments that base their holidays on religion
I
for.
swear.
Like, yeah, I can
Atheists
thank
should
them
not be
for
allowed
that.
to celebrate religious holidays. People should go and
I'll
enjoy
cut you. I go knock you stick.
your non-religious holidays.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Please subscribe on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and other places podcasts are available. Then check out the show notes for links you may find useful, including our Discord server. Would love to have you there. Have a great week, and I will catch you on the next one.